You are the product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And with the holidays coming up, some of us are meeting this year in 2020 on Thanksgiving face to face. And then we've got Christmas coming up. Some of it's going to be online. And sometimes you're just getting together with friends, maybe that you've quarantined with. But are you afraid that one person might be there that you have to deal with? Today on Coffee with Colleen, we're going to talk about the top 10 types of rude and toxic people that you're going to run across and how to deal with them. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Colleen. I am Colleen Hammond. If this is your first time joining us, I'm a former on-camera meteorologist for the Weather Channel. And for the past almost 40 years, I've been working as an image consultant and business strategist and personal brand strategist for people. And I love helping women because as soon as they figure out how easy it is to nail their style, their confidence blooms and they walk out of the house every day confident that they know that they look and feel fascinating. So today we're going to be talking about toxic people. One of my other degrees is in psychology, excuse me, and working with people. And toxic people are everywhere and they cause unnecessary strife and stress, and they're really bad for your brain because your brain has a massive stress response when you're around people that negatively impact you like this. And weeks of being around this type of person can destroy your brain. So not only are they miserable to deal with, they can cause you dementia. They make you sick and dumber, basically, not dementia, but they reduce your cognitive abilities. And sometimes you can't distance yourself from these people because they may be in your family or you may have to work with them shoulder to shoulder every day. So once we identify who they are and realize, oh, it's not me that's crazy, right? Because sometimes don't you feel like, wait a minute, maybe I'm the problem, right? Then we can identify who they are. And then once we know which type of rude and toxic person they are, then we know how to deal with them. All right, so first of all, there's the critic. This is a person that criticizes everything. And sometimes there's just people that they look at the world just in a bitter and negative way. Everything they see as negative. Like, why don't you ever? Or what's wrong with you? And a lot of why questions. Now, why questions automatically put us on the defensive. You know, basically, baby, I think it's because when we were little and toddlers, like, why did you do that? Or children, why this and why? But why is a very accusatory word. So when you're around somebody that's very critical and asks you why words, it's a worst word in a healthy relationship. Why are you late? I've been waiting. Instead of, oh my gosh, are you okay? I was worried. But that could also be passive aggressive. We'll talk about that one later. So critics may not call you names per se, right? But they may make a face when you express an opinion. They may insult your beliefs, your appearance, your thoughts. And often they have low self-esteem and they just want to be in control. And what they're doing is trying to push you down to make themselves feel better. And we all know that doesn't work. Actually, the opposite is true. When you build other people up and compliment other people, it builds you up as well. But these are the crabs that try to pull people back into the boiling water. You know that story, right? If you put crabs in boiling water, they'll reach up. If another crab tries to crawl out, they'll reach up and grab the crab and pull it back in the boiling water with them. So pardon the cough, they're constantly trying to pull you down and thinking that if they push you under them, they'll be higher. But that's not how it works. And so these people, like if you're raising children, you know that what you want to do is critique their behavior, not the person. You don't say you're a bad child. You're like, don't do that anymore. That's not a good thing to do. So, but the critic doesn't work that way. They were like, what's wrong with you? So they're constantly attacking you, your ideas, your thoughts, your clothes, your whatever. So what they do is they end up stifling your desire to be an expressive person or to ever express your beliefs because you're not comfortable around them, because anything you say, they're going to jump down your throat for. So once you look at this type of person and realize that they're truly, what the issue is they're really insecure. So they puff themselves up and try to make themselves look better and feel better about themselves by criticizing and denigrating everybody else around them. So how do you deal with that type of person? Well, you want to remove yourself from them as much as possible. And a second way of dealing with them is just to ignore them. Just say a prayer and move on, because don't take it personal, because they look at everything through a critical eye. So anything you say or do is going to be seen in a negative light because of their sad situation. So don't listen. Remove yourself, move on. Or, sometimes people will say, why did you do that? Well, thank you for caring. Move on. You don't have to answer their questions. You don't owe this to them. Okay, second person is the gossip. Avoid this person. You know what? If somebody comes to you and is talking about another person, guess what? When you're not around, they're talking about you. So don't be around these people at all. Don't engage them. Because, what was it? Eleanor Roosevelt said, great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss other people. So they have small minds because they're discussing other people. They're not talking. There's enough events to talk about in this world. Maybe that's what they're doing. They're deriving pleasure from other people's misfortunes and are talking about other people's misfortunes as opposed to what's going on in the world. But we see gossip magazines, pardon me, we see gossip magazines at the checkout counters. So it almost has become ingrained as a part of our culture and a part of our life. And there's too many positives out there. And too many interesting things to learn from amazing people to engage with them. So if, excuse me, if you're around a gossip, don't engage. Don't listen to the stories. Don't, if you can't stop them, remove yourself from the conversation. Oop, I'm sorry, I've got a phone call. I got to go. If it's one-on-one, or you may say to them, oh, you know what? They're a friend of mine. Please don't speak about them that way. Or I know them. I don't think they're that way at all. Let's not talk about them. You can cut somebody off and not, if you're going to remove yourself, that's one thing. You can remove yourself from the group if this person is gossiping, or you can stop it dead in their tracks by saying, they're a friend of mine, and I'm not comfortable with you speaking of them that way. Okay. Number 3. The temperamental one, the one that throws temper tantrums. So I thought we grew out of this, right? I thought this wasn't something we don't even allow our toddlers to do, or these temper tantrums. Because what happens is it ends up people don't have any control over their emotions. And we talked about that in the emotional intelligence series. What's your EQ? What's your emotional quotient? Won't even get into that now. That's too long to talk about. So what they do is they're projecting their feelings onto you and using you as their dumping ground. And sometimes, okay, so see, here's the situation. This is where they get this control with their victim mentality, right? You feel bad for them because they're, oh my gosh, I have this and that, and and they're using you as a toilet to flush their emotions. And you don't want that kind of stuff in your brain. You don't want that, situation going on. And sadly, when people come to me and they're, after a while, I love to help people. So sometimes people will take advantage of that. But then sometimes there's people that they think the only way they have a relationship with you is that you can help them solve their problems. So what I've had to do, and this is the truth too. I mean, it's just at some point you can't help people. They need a professional. And I've had to stop people and say, I wish I could help you, but I think, let me refer you to like online counseling right now, which is very inexpensive, $150 a month at BetterHelp. And you get unlimited contact with your counselor, and they're all accredited. You can get a psychiatrist, psychologists, masters, they've got all sorts of people that can help you. But I wish I could. I'll pray, but I just wish I can't help you. So I do feel bad sometimes, but some people just look for crisis. Do you have people like that in your life? Everything has to be a crisis. And if they're not in crisis, they're not happy. So if there's not a current crisis happening around them, they'll create one. And unfortunately, it may involve you. So refer these people to BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com, or someplace else, or their pastor, or someplace. And that leads us into number 4, the victim. These are people, they're hard again because you're like, oh, bless their hearts. But time passes, you realize they're always a victim. It's like all the time. They like drama. And they tend to push away personal responsibility. Things happen to them. It's never their fault. And then they blow it out of proportion. So this is different from a sanguine personality who loves to tell you their tales of woe because they find it funny. But the victim doesn't see a tough time as a tale of woe that's funny or a situation they can learn from. It's like they like, and they're always comfortable in it. Now, this may be somebody that grew up in drama. So this is what they're used to. And so again, this is another situation where you want to refer them to speak to somebody that can really help them work through something because it may be a longer issue. You know that saying, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional? They don't consider suffering optional. It's a requirement in their life. And they like it because it gets them attention and it gets them love. So they choose to suffer because this is the pattern they have developed in their life. And you don't have to be a part of that pattern. Again, refer them to someone else. You know, there tends to be people that years ago at one of the churches I belonged to, there was a certain person that every week she had a new tale of woe. And I just avoided her. I just had to avoid her or find other conversations to be in because I could spot her coming at me from across the room. And there was nothing I could do to help. And there was just, I had done everything I could. So at some point, you cannot be codependent in their relationship. And codependency is a whole nother thing. All right, number 5, people who are so self-absorbed, they're like a black hole in the room. They bring you down. They can bring you down from a distance, right? If you're with this person, you... pardon me, you feel alone. And they tend to stonewall, which means they refuse to communicate with you. You know, it's like, why bother talking about it? It's not going to get better. And it's hard to have a connection with them because they're not about connecting. It's not two-way for them, right? They use you as a tool to build their self-esteem, because they don't know how to deal with their emotions either. And you'll notice that almost every single solitary one of these top 10 toxic people I refer to, they have low emotional intelligence. They don't know how to deal with their emotions, so they have developed these toxic habits. So the stonewaller may refuse to admit that there's a problem. And then if there is a problem, they're going to blame it on you. Again, there's no personal responsibility. They make you feel guilty. They point out things that are like half-truths, and they twist things to make it sound like your fault, right? So now you start to feel a little bit guilty, and you may harbor feelings of resentment, right? But you try to communicate with this person, but you realize that they're not going to be honest and open. They're going to twist and turn. Their story may change. And then you get frustrated and angry. It's like, well, wait a minute ago you just said this and now you're saying this, you know. So with this type of person, you cannot have a two-way conversation. They're not listening. They're not responding to you. They've got their point of view. They're going to stonewall and then move on. So again, don't engage. Don't engage. Just don't get involved with their issue or their conversation or, well, obviously you and I have a different way of looking at these things. I'm sorry if anything I have done has hurt or offended you. If at some point you can tell me how I can repair the damage that I've done, please let me know. Otherwise, I guess we're done here, right? Number 6, the grass is always greener to envious people. They can't be happy for other people's success. There's no gratitude. They're not in the habit of being grateful for anything. They measure their fortune against the world's, and they're not getting any satisfaction from within. Everything about them is external. And they end up dragging you down too. And they compare you with others that they think, so if you come and you're excited about something and you share some exciting news, they're like, yeah, but so-and-so is doing this, what you're doing, so much better. Or, they'll even find other people to bring you down. So they can't be happy for your success. They can't be happy for their own success. They refuse to see any good in any situation, in you, in themselves, in others. So they're always envious, and I'm trying to think of a different word. But basically what they do is they trivialize, they make trivial your accomplishments or things you say, or anything that you do. Now, number 7 is the passive aggressive person. We kind of talked about them a little bit earlier. Now, this person, these sometimes you have to be really careful and pay attention to exactly what they're saying. Because again, they're accusing you of being the problem. Most of these people do not want to take personal responsibility. So, for example, they'll keep you waiting or make you late for an appointment because they're just not ready yet. Let me try to think of a different example. But they'll deny your feelings. They tend to be very sarcastic, and they give real backhanded compliments, I guess. Not really compliments, but they're backhanded, but they're backhanded comments, I guess was a better way. Backhanded comments, not compliments. Because, wow, you look nice today for a change. You look better than normal. Or just really weird the way they say things. And they manipulate. And they suck time and energy out of your life under this facade of a friendship. They act like a friend, but they hijacked your happiness. They know what you like. They know what makes you happy. They know what makes you laugh. But what they do is they use that information against you. It's kind of a hidden agenda. They're vampires of your joy. So they take a lot of things, but they don't give. And they just try to win you over so they can work you over. So just the backhanded comments that come from them, and the way that they manipulate you under this guise of friendship and this guise of weird comments or compliments, which really are comments, from them. So be careful around them. You'll know more that you're around them because you kind of feel like you're walking on eggshells sometimes. Because you're not quite sure if something you say is going to elicit a certain response from them. So they're not aggressive in their attacks. They're very passive in their attacks. And sometimes their way of control is going to be by these really weird backhanded compliments. All right, number 8 is the black hole. They're very highly negative people. So there's 2 types of people in the world. People who walk into a room and say, "Here I am." And then people that come into a room and say, "Oh, there you are." Which type of person do you want to be around? Which type of person do you want to be, right? So these "here I am" type of people are, Mr. Me Planet, right? And they talk about themselves, but oftentimes they're negative and pessimistic. Pardon me. Like Pigpen from the Peanuts, there's always a cloud over their head. The glass is half empty, and they inject fear and concern. Notre Dame University did a study where they found that students that had roommates like this were more likely to have lower grades, depression, and develop negative thinking themselves. So you want to be around people that are positive and uplifting and able to bring you joy. Number 9 is the twisted sister. and just a twisted individual, a twisted sister, wasn't that a name of a group? There are certain toxic people that really truly have bad intentions. They live their life with negative zeal, bitter zeal. They get satisfaction from the pain and misery of others, and they may have a full psychological disorder, because hurt people will hurt other people. So it says a lot about their family. It may say a lot about their family or origin or how they were raised, but they're out to hurt you. They're out to make you feel bad. They're out to get something from you. Otherwise, once they've done all of that to you, they have no use for you anymore, and they drop you. So these people are a little bit easier to spot, because this isn't just a problem or a personality disorder. This could be a full-blown psychological disorder, and they do need help. And, and sometimes, and I'll say that at the end, you can spot their intentions very quickly because they're just malicious. And I had somebody like that that I know that was out to destroy other people. She just felt that she had the power to do. So she would call like hotlines where this person worked, and make these anonymous tips that weren't true. Ended up getting this person in a very high level position fired from their job for lies. And she just felt, and she was proud of that. She was very, very proud of that. Bragged about it after church. And I happened to know the person. And I was like, well, now I know who did it. So it was very, very sad. Number 10, the narcissist. Their arrogance is out of this world. They act like they're God's gift. They're not afraid to tell you so. You can never measure up, and they're not afraid to tell you that. They one-up you all the time. You had 4 wisdom teeth out, so did I, but mine were impacted, and it's like, okay, well, all right. I guess my teeth story is nothing. Thank you, Brian Regan. Narcissism, like the passive aggressiveness, is considered a personality disorder, and is very, very toxic, because this person will place themselves on a pedestal and glare down at you, and they make everything a competition. If you live with this type of person, there's no charity, there's no sense of service. They will scoreboard. No, I've made coffee 3 times this week. It's your turn. You've only done it twice, so you do it. Never mind that you have the flu and you're taking care of children and, whatever. So they'll scoreboard. They're also unwilling to compromise. They don't have insight. They don't have empathy. They are always wanting to be the center of attention. Now, with family gatherings coming up, they will tend to ruin these special occasions. Maybe your birthday or a career milestone or Thanksgiving or Christmas, right? I'm so sorry. They actually don't like themselves, and that's part of a narcissistic personality disorder. They're unwilling to compromise, makes them nearly impossible to deal with. And the best way to deal with this type of person is just to leave them. You have to disassociate yourself from them. And especially in the workplace or in a marriage or in a family, they see you as a challenge, and they try to destroy anything and everything about other people just to make themselves better. And in the meantime, they leave a wake of people feeling injured or rejected. So there is a link for all of these top 10. There's a link in the show notes. And if there isn't right now, there will be in a minute, on how to get this list of the top 10. And especially as we're going into the holidays, it's important to sit back and really observe other people's behavior and realize it's not you. And what I wanted to end with was, sometimes you may be the only person that can help this person, but at some point, there's only so much that you can do. And, I've done this topic a number of times because this is very near and dear to my heart. And those who know me personally have a good idea why. But you may be the only person that can help them, but ultimately they're the only person that can help themselves. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And the healthiest thing sometimes is tough love and to leave them to their own devices. So if you are in a position to help them, you're not obligated, or you may be obligated to. I'm not saying that I don't know all the situation, but you may not be obligated to. You may think you are. And this may be an opportunity for you to talk to either a professional or your pastor or someone outside the situation that can help you analyze it a little bit better as to where you stand and what you really are obligated to do. But more often than not, you don't have that obligation. They are not under your cone of protection. You are not morally or ethically obliged. So actually, you are probably more ethically and more morally obliged to take care of yourself and your children and your family and protect them from toxic relationships and toxic people, especially our children, because what they see, they repeat. And I've known far too many people who've wanted to help out a bad situation and it ended up negatively impacting their children and more often than not helping the other person. So this could be part of their toxicity, is being happy to be involved in your family and tear all of you down. So just be careful as you work through this, because I know as Christians we want to help, but oftentimes it's not our moral or ethical obligation to do so. So I will end on that. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for you. Again, text BF 2020 to, that's Black Friday 2020, BF 2020 to 214-214-4995 if you want to be the first to know about the Black Friday specials for this year, because they are on a very limited basis. And if you want any more information on the toxic people, that link is in the show notes. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.